Joe, do you know who Nick Thune and Naeem Lynn are?
Aren't they the guys who had that party this last weekend?
Not quite. They are the comedians that didn't come for the comedy show last Wednesday that Zach put on, though.
I can be a comedian.
You can?
Do you see me every week on the show? That's a joke. I suck at this job.
Well, if you didn't make it to the show, here is a look at what you missed.
A comedy show took place Wednesday night of homecoming week. The show featured Naeem Lynn and Nick Thune. This was hosted by Student Activities Council. We got the extra scoop from the comedians after the show.
I used to watch them at a young age. I watched comedy. There was Def Comedy Jam. I used to watch it every weekend. When I was in high school, I taped it. I would tape it every weekend. And when you watch a lot of comedy, you find yourself trying to be funny. You know, you develop a sense of humor. And that's just how it works, you know. Once you really get to being funny, you're like, I want to try this. And you have to be a comic, you have to be intelligent, and you have to be able to be on stage. You know, so if you have a sense of humor, you have intelligence and wit, and you're not afraid to be in front of people, then anybody can do it.
You know, I think my favorite part about being stand-up is, and doing it, is that it's my chance to show people what I think is funny. You know, and like my whole life, like I think when I was younger, when I was like in school growing up, all my friends were really good at sports and stuff, and I was not. I mean, I'm sure you guys can look at my body right now and think, oh, you're obviously an athlete, you know? But I wasn't succeeding in sports like my friends, and I finally like realized like, oh, if you say something that's a little off the track, like in class or something, people laugh. So I kind of learned more and more like how to make people laugh, and then the more and more I figured that out, I realized like, wow, it's kind of fun to like actually think of something on my own, spend time writing it, and then take it in front of people, and then try and make them laugh with it.
That's the extra scoop on Nick Thune and Naeem Lynn. This is Jackie Walter reporting.
Comedians were really funny. I enjoyed it a lot. I went in with low expectations, to be honest with you, because comedians that come to Northwest, I don't know, it's kind of fishy. So, but I was really pleasantly surprised. It was absolutely hilarious, and I loved it.
At first, I thought the comedians was going to be kind of crappy and immature, not up to the age level of the audience. But when I got there and the first comedian was talking about penises and vaginas and sex and and stuff, it kind of raised my opinion to a better level, I guess you could say.
Well, that was an interesting interview. I really like that Nick Thune guy. He's pretty funny.
Yeah, he seems pretty funny.
Yeah.
Did you watch the presidential debate last week?
Actually, I missed a lot of it, so I didn't get to catch
Why do you hate America so much?
Don't hate America, Joe.
No, it's actually a pretty good debate. Do you watch the ones where they've got that bar at the bottom and it will show like unregistered voters and it's like, oh, I like what he's saying, I don't like what he's saying.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do they sit there like hitting a yes or no button? Or
I
like,
have no idea how
do they hook it up to their heart?
Anyways, if you missed it, here is Aaron Smith-Meyer and Dave Harding.
I was trouble, you know that I'm no good.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Politicals. I'm Dave Hardin.
And I, of course, am Aaron Smith-Meyer. The big story today, of course, is the big presidential debate, the final one last week between John McCain and Barack Obama. And let me really say that John McCain came out of this one swinging, which he needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you know, just the initial impression of it was, I thought it was a very even debate, which had not occurred in previous
times. It really wasn't.
times.
And I mean, while he held his own sometimes, he didn't show them the John McCain that needed to be shown.
Right. And, this is still not the youngest John McCain we've seen, but,
right.
I mean, he really held his own. I mean, he came out firing. He was actually talking about policy, which calmed me down a great deal because I was so tired of those attack ads. But regardless, let's take a look at some of the clips from last night's debate.
I would like to mention that a couple of days ago, Senator Obama was out in Ohio, and he had an encounter with a guy who's a plumber. His name is Joe Wurzelberger, which Joe was trying to realize the American dream. That's what Joe believes.
He's been watching some ads of Senator McCain. So let me tell you what I'm actually going to do. Now, the conversation I had with Joe the plumber, what I essentially said to him was, 5 years ago, when you weren't in a position to buy your business, you needed a tax cut then. And what I want to do is to make sure that the plumber, the nurse, the firefighter, the teacher, the young entrepreneur who doesn't yet have money, I want to give them a tax break now.
You know what Senator Obama ended up his conversation with Joe the plumber? we need to spread the wealth around. In other words, we're going to take Joe's money, give it to Senator Obama, and let him spread the wealth around. I want Joe the plumber to spread that wealth around. You told him you wanted to spread the wealth around. People like Joe the plumber are going to create jobs unless you take that money from him and spread the wealth around. We're talking about Joe the plumber.
In order to...
Well, it was a very good debate, and this is finally a positive debate where they were actually discussing policy, they were discussing plans, what they would actually do with the presidency, and I think we actually saw the positive sides of both men.
Right, and well, both camps want to say, well, he didn't talk about the issues. That's always something that comes out of these debates. They really did.
Yeah.
And they really stuck to the issues, but at the same time, they were still exchanging jabs here and there.
Yeah.
But I think McCain did something really, really well as far as separating himself from Bush, which needed to be done because Obama's been making that connection.
Right.
And he just straight up said, I'm not Bush.
Right.
If you want him, you should have ran 4 years ago.
Right, exactly. And I thought that was absolutely correct, and was kind of ironic, too, is because Barack Obama kind of had a Costanza moment from Seinfeld because he came up with the witty one-liner a day later during a stump speech, you know?
And
like,
he's on the jet, and he's just like, oh, I should have said that.
Yeah, and so that was a little bit frustrating. But, I mean, in terms of education, Barack Obama just, hit it out of the park. He was talking about, the fact that I have no problem giving a $4,000 grant, essentially, to college students if they perform community service or if they're, military, something like that, which was absolutely brilliant. And that was the one point, in my opinion, where McCain was really lackluster. He was really all about those vouchers, but the vouchers don't necessarily account for teacher accountability, for affordability in actual college and things like that.
His talking about the vouchers really reminded me of Al Gore's lockbox. He kept going back to it.
Right.
And, once you say it a few times, you're just like, you're really not. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go pass on that.
You're done.
And, while Obama did bring up some better points on education. Even as a conservative, I can recognize that because I am in college and I am dealing with that kind of stuff. And
4 G's in your pocket wouldn't hurt.
Absolutely. Any money in my pocket at this point wouldn't hurt,
Right.
even if it's for the dollar menu. I don't even care. But what it is while he does says, you will get that $4,000 voucher if you do the community service, that's just like today. We have scholarships out there that all you have to do is write an essay, and it's getting the people to do it. Now, it does sound great on paper, and, that isn't just another incentive, but in essence, unless the kids want to do it, they're not going to get it.
Yeah, but in terms of education, this is something that kind of heralds back to, days of Camelot, even with JFK, to where there was so much focus on these social programs like Peace Corps and just community service in general. There was so much focus on it that, it really did bring out a great sense of unity within America. And I can absolutely understand why he would want people that are, 19, 20, 21 to actually become socially active in their community, to really start to actually have a presence there and actually become engaged in their own society, which is something that's I think has been lacking. I think that was a positive turn in terms of that.
And that's definitely something that I can respect Barack Obama as a person for. I don't agree with his views as far as politics go, and there's no secret there.
Whoa.
But the fact remains, he's got a lot of young people who normally would not be at all involved in politics. And whether or not it's, whether or not they know the issues all the way or they're as educated, that doesn't matter because if they can just get a sparked interest in politics right now, maybe later on down the road they can learn. And, as important as it is right now to know the issues, it's just refreshing to hear some, walking into the union and hearing people talk about this stuff. Because 4 years ago...
Fiery debate.
It
really is. It's
and
great discourse.
I've seen just people between wearing, the John McCain buttons or the Barack Obama pins, people are really just going at each other. But I think it's remained pretty healthy. And next week I actually want to talk to some students and find out kind of how they feel about the government.
And I think that's it's a great plan. I think we should do that absolutely. Well, this has been Politicals. I'm David Harden. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you. And join us again next week.
We hate to do this so soon again, but we have to take another commercial break.
We'll be right back.